Today, a hearing on mammography guidelines. Senate Appropriations and a health subcommittee held a joint hearing in February to hear from breast cancer experts about when and how often women should receive mammograms.
This is a joint hearing between the Subcommittee on Public Health of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, as well as of the Appropriations Subcommittee on Labor, Health, and Human Services. We are holding a joint hearing because of the advocacy of its members and the way both the authorizing and the appropriations have worked together. The title of this hearing is called Making Sense of the Mammogram Controversy, What Women Need to Know. As the chair of the hearing, however, I wish to yield to the ranking member of the Appropriations, Senator Arlen Specter.
On this very important subject of mammography. I chaired the Appropriations Subcommittee, which funded the Department of Health and Human Services in 1997 when a controversy arose as to whether there ought to be mammograms for women between 40 and 49. And in the capacity of chairman of that subcommittee, initiated a series of hearings on the subject and became personally convinced that the mammograms could be helpful. Not necessarily, but possibly so. And if a non-invasive screening process could detect breast cancer at an early age and save lives, and the statistics are just devastating as to how many women die of breast cancer each year, that it ought to be available. And the issue came before the Appropriations Subcommittee because it was a matter of cost. And senators ought not to decide medical questions. We ought to leave that to the experts. But when it comes to the issue of establishing priorities on where expenditures ought to be allocated, then that is the prerogative of the members of Congress, of the House and Senate. And we decided that we could afford it. And that was part of what Senator Harkin and I have done on many of these important medical issues. And Senator Harkin and I have taken the lead on funding for NIH from $12 billion a year to $23 billion a year. We are a rich and powerful country, and we can afford that. And the funding for cancer has increased enormously, including funding for breast cancer. And of the $2.1 trillion which is spent by the United States government each year, none is spent for a better purpose than to try to eradicate breast cancer, prostate cancer, eliminate Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, heart disease. There's nothing more important than health. So I'm pleased that these hearings have been convened. Let's take a fresh look at the matter. There is some potential if someone takes a mammogram and there's a false positive. But my own personal view, after studying the matter in great detail, is that that is of lesser consequence than the availability of screening to detect cancer at an early stage where it can be successfully treated. And I believe that the United States government has the funding to make such mammography available for women 40 to 49.
The purpose of this hearing, and the title is Making Sense of the Mammogram Controversy. What do women need to know, and what do women need to do? Today we're here to examine the very troubling controversy about the effectiveness of screening mammography. Women are hearing conflicting scientific studies. Some studies say mammograms save lives. Others say they don't. This is incredibly frustrating for American women. Many are confused, exacerbated, and apprehensive, both about breast cancer and now about the information they're getting about mammographies. They don't know what to do, who to believe, or where to go. I'm very concerned myself. I called this hearing to get answers for American women. What should they do? Where do they get the information they can rely upon? We need also, in the absence of conclusive information, I am worried that insurance companies will wiggle out of providing this coverage, saying that it is no longer a mandate for prevention, but a personal option. I do not believe that mammograms should be equated with nose jobs. I do believe that mammograms do save lives, and we need to know when is the best time to get them. Now, there are conflicting studies. Recent works by biostatisticians in Denmark concluded that there is no reliable evidence that regular mammograms save lives. Here in the United States, the Physicians Data Inquiry Screening and Prevention Board, which, by the way, is an independent group of experts created and funded by the National Cancer Institute, have come up with these observations. They have signaled yellow flashing lights about whether mammograms provide any benefit to women. These findings conflict with other studies showing that screening mammograms, can reduce breast cancer deaths by 30%. Then, in the atmosphere of these conflicting studies, last week, Secretary Tommy Thompson affirmed the department's traditional position that regular mammograms do benefit women and cited the Prevention Health Task Force. But at that time, Secretary Thompson, a long-standing advocate of women's health, did not give us data. Many other organizations, like the American Cancer Society, also continue to recommend screening mammograms. So today, we want to hold a hearing. This is not a debate. It is a presentation of views in which we hope we can clear the air and clear up what women should do. I understand dissent in the scientific community and difference of opinion about particular studies, but this conflict is exacerbating. Women don't know who to believe or what they should do. My own position is that I'd rather be safe than sorry, but I also have the means to pay for a mammogram. What about women who don't have the ability to pay? What happens if insurance companies decide to stop paying? And in the absence of clarity, I'm concerned that conflicting studies will give women pause rather than pursuing prevention. We do need new tools and tech, regardless of the efficacy of mammograms. Right now, what we do know is that mammograms is the best tool we now have. But it should not be the only tool. Hopefully, there will be more in the future. We need new tools and accurate testing to make sure they work. We cannot afford to have the same controversy over and over again. The Institute of Medicine has recommended improving the development and adoption of new technologies, as well as maximizing the technology currently available for breast cancer detection. These recommendations should be seriously considered. At the same time, while we look for new technologies, we have to make sure that the mammograms, regardless of when we're advised to get them, must be safe. And that's why in 1992, I led the way to ensuring that we had mammogram quality safety standards. These to be sure that they're safe and accurate, to avoid, of course, the terrible situation of false negatives. This mammogram quality standards are now up for reauthorization, and we hope to be able to expedite that, and we look forward to any comments that others wish to make.
I think what we have to keep in mind here is that we have an epidemic in this country of breast cancer. This is an epidemic by any yardstick of measurement. 1 out of every 9 women will get breast cancer in America. Every 3 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer in this country. Every 13 minutes, a woman dies of breast cancer in this country. That's an epidemic. And I know these are statistics. We throw out these figures and these statistics. But these are real people. These are real people. And the one reason I've been so much involved in this is, I'll be frank to admit it, personal. My only 2 sisters died of breast cancer at quite an early age. They left young families. And